So here we have something that looks like a beautiful dish that's been prepared at the chef's hand. And then within a blink of an eye, when you see that on the screen or on the plate, your mind is expecting, making predictions about what that would taste like. What is the flavour? Do you enjoy it? Is it good for you? How many calories? All those thoughts, consciously or otherwise, go through your mind within less than a blink of an eye when you see that food. The problem is that when you see that, you set the expectations of a sweet berry ice cream, raspberry, strawberry, something like that. When you put a mouthful of that in, you'll have a response much like the Japanese participants in the previous slide. It's not what I expected, it's salty. This might be a frozen smoked salmon ice cream. So the colour is appropriate to the taste, it's just not what you expected. And this, when people like Essen serve this food, and they say, well, it was seasoned perfectly for me, and I'm one of the world's top chefs, and I give it out at the front of the house, and people go, ugh, it's too salty, and they don't eat it then, and they don't eat it several weeks later. It's the kind of point of realization, no matter how brilliantly, perfectly I season the food, I need to know what is going on in the mind of my diner. I need to know what expectations they have about what they're going to eat. And it's only by the marriage of the great culinary technique with some insight into the mind of the diner that you can hope to deliver the truly great and memorable food experiences. And now I think for the next few decades we're going to see the new gastrophysics, some would call it, the new science of the diner, the science of the front of house, the science of setting, managing expectations in the mind of the diner. I think this will go forward as chefs like Heston and Farben come to science labs to find out the latest on how the mind works, and then take some of those insights back into the kitchen to try and design dishes in different ways. While traditionally, the chef would always think it is just about sourcing the right ingredients, local, fresh, preparing them, combining them in the right way on the plate. Increasingly, there's a whole generation of young chefs, I think, who for the first time, as far as I'm aware, are thinking about what goes on here. The chefs who have been at places like the Fat Duck for a day, a week, a month, or a year, are now popping up, starting up elsewhere, and they're thinking, I need to know about this. And this is a very exciting time, both because the chefs are interested, and they also because they have the creativity to turn some of the science into delicious, memorable, on occasion life-changing dishes. A second strand of the research comes from online experimentation. Sometimes with chefs we've never even met. We just see a dish like this, the signature dish from Albert Landgraf in Sao Paulo's Apis restaurant, one of the up-and-coming chefs in South America. And it's visually stunning, 3 onions with tapioca, vinegar, spume and stuff. Visually stunning on the eye, and all those onions point away from the diner. This is the signature dish, and this is how intuitively the chef has plated that thing. Is the chef right? Is the chef always right in their intuitions about what looks good to the diner? Well, what we can do is take a picture of Albert's dish, put it on the internet, and allow people around the world, or in particular countries, to spin that plate on their mobile devices, on their computers at home. And here's the results we get. 300 people here, 3,000 people looking at Albert's dish, spinning that dish on their devices at home and saying, how would you like that dish to be plated? The more the dots, each dot is a person or a group of people, because see, most people do care how that dish is plated. And if you average all of these people, potential diners, you find that they like this dish about 3.9 degrees past 12 o'clock. So the chef intuitively says 12, and the answer is 12:01. Close enough not to matter in this case. But there are other cases where chefs now could take their dish that they're thinking about putting on the restaurant menu, upload it one night, and by the next morning, you might have 200, 300, 400, 500 potential diners saying how they'd like the things oriented, arranged, aligned, and so on. Very powerful new technique, internet-based testing, that's very cheap and that's very rapid. So we are doing dinners in Oxford with a business school where the chefs will come in, Think about what to plate for the next day's dinner. We upload it the night before, and the way it is served to the restaurant guests is changed as a result of this. And of course, it's not just the visual presentation of the stuff on the plate, if a plate there is. That plateware can also change our experience in ways that, again, don't make sense, but are reproducible here in the Alicia Foundation, just outside Barcelona, where we first did the study with what really is a strawberry ice cream this time. You can believe your eyes. Served in an environment very similar to this. Half of the people eating that dessert from a round white plate, half from a black plate. And you're asked, how sweet is that dessert from 1 to 9? How intense the flavour of the strawberry? How much do you like that ice cream? And the results are that this ice cream on the right is rated as tasting 10% sweeter and 15% stronger flavour than exactly the same batch, served in exactly the same room, on exactly the same day, but from a black plate instead. Is it always a 10%, 15% change? Not always, but we have repeated this experiment in the Paul Bocuse Cookery School and Restaurant in Lyon. We repeated it in hotel restaurants in Scotland. Others have repeated it in Greenland. White plates seem to be sweeter than black. Round plates are sweeter than angular ones. And so the colour of the plate can deliver sweetness in a way that doesn't make sense, but is reproducible. And just imagine you're a food producer sending out tens or hundreds of thousands of plastic trays of food a day in the supermarket. You've never thought about the colour of the plastic in which that food comes. Yet it can deliver sweetness, enhance perception of saltiness. It's something you'd want to know about and incorporate into your design. And now we have the earbuds in ear. We have the iPod in the shell. And for me, it's been on the signature dish since 2008. It's still there to this day. I guess they're still serving it in Melbourne while the Fat Duck is away on tour. It works, it changes the taste of the seafood. It works because diners come away saying, I never thought about sound. But yes, every time the food tastes so good on the seaside, part of the reason is the sound of the seagull, the smell of the salty air. And here we've captured that experience in the outskirts of Slough, about as far from the seaside in the UK as you can ever go. Beautifully designed. And what happens is diners, they're busy, they're talking, they're chatting, they are excited. The headphones come along, they go in, and people are silent. It's like suddenly they're concentrating on the food. They do not talk, they just concentrate on the food for a dish. It's kind of mindful eating, and that is part of why the food tastes better. Would this work? Headphones every course? No. But for one course, to focus diner's mind on the dish, I think it works. And for those diners who have come away from this dish in tears, it is more than just an obvious seafood sight sounds. It is more than that. It is an emotional experience. It's transformative in its way. So this is sort of technology at table that starts with the Fat Duck. We want to make it sort of mass market somehow. And we want to avoid this. All those diners out there with their mobile devices, sharing the pictures of the food with their friends, distracted from the meal. Rearranging the plates to get the perfect picture so that the food is cold by the time that you come to eat it. In the UK, Heston Blumenthal has a strict photography policy at his dinner restaurant now, and there are other chefs who now ban the taking of photographs. Come here to eat, to enjoy my cuisine as I intended it to be done, when it was served from the kitchen. Other than thinking how to play this game, but you want to take that technology, which is brilliant, some of the most amazing technology that's sitting in most of our pockets. But how can you take that technology, which has always been separate from the food, distracting from the food, and integrate it into the experience? And this was the idea behind this, that maybe answers one of the questions that I think was asked in the last talk. How do you go beyond the sound of the sea? Because in hindsight, that is so obvious now. It wasn't at the time, but now it is. Well, this is a sensory tasting menu from the House of Wolf, a now defunct restaurant in North London, Islington. One course for each sense, one course without your hands, one course blindfolded, one sound course. A sonic cake pop. You'll see here on the menu, take your phone, and if you want to make your dessert sweeter, dial 0845 680 2490. If you want to make your dessert more bitter, because I don't know whether you're a sweet tooth or not, Bitter or sweet? Bitter. Obviously bitter. What about this? This is the other sound they could hear. Sweet. Obviously sweet. We've played these sounds around the world on the internet to hundreds to thousands of people, and there's no right or wrong answer because sweet and bitter do not have a sound. And yet the majority of people, in a synesthesia-like way, will say, yes, that feels bitter to me. That feels sweeter. Why? I don't know, it just does. And when you play those sounds, the bitter and sweet sound, while people are eating this bitter, sweet food, we can bring out the sweetness by 5 to 10% by digital seasoning. Simple as that. But this is not so intuitive, this is the next stage forward. And we've taken the technology from the chef's hands to all of our hands, to all of our pockets, and show just what can be done.